Hi, so I'm back again so soon. I'm actually, as I wrote in a blog post today, I um, I am really starting to gain some traction in overcoming my in one of my fears, lifelong fears actually. And I am familiar enough with myself that I know where I start to self-sabotage and where I start throwing myself off track. And this is one of those places. So I start getting into a place where I start to feel comfortable expressing myself, and then I start thinking, oh, well, let's not overdo it. But so if I start posting too many things on Facebook, doing too many blog posts, I start to get really self-conscious about it. It's like, oh my God, I just keep drawing attention to myself. Oh, look, another blog post, another blog post. I had something else to say, and something else to say. And that goes along the line also of when I'm with a group of people or with friends and I start talking too much. I start becoming so self-conscious about talking too much, taking up too much attention in any given time frame. So, so what happens is that becomes my focus instead of focusing on what I naturally want to express or say. So, like, if I'm just comfortable in myself and I'm not worrying about those things, then I'll just be sitting there paying attention or observing other people, boo, 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 and something just will naturally rise up in me to say, and then I can just let it out because I'm not so focused on trying to restrict it. When I get too self-conscious about, like, oh, I shouldn't talk so much, or oh, I've already talked for like 10 minutes and they don't need to hear any more about me, um, then I'm focused on that thought process instead of when the natural expression or something I want to share comes up, I miss it or I squelch it or I stop it because it doesn't. There's no room for it in my head with me going calculating like my allotted talk time, and that's just not a thing. Okay, and I was going to say that's not a thing, but then I just thought of I'm like there are people who definitely talk way too much and never let anyone else get stuff in, and it is annoying to be around them. And I think I just don't want. I don't want to be that person. So. Yeah, so this is one of my things. Like, so normally, um, less aware Jen would I would get to this level, like the point that I have yesterday, and I would I would be saying to myself today, do you hear that? Bling, bling. That's WordPress alerts, and so I have it on I have my phone and then my iPad, and sometimes they're in different parts. And I have one on my iPod as well, and they're in different parts of my house. And so when you guys do a like or something on my post, I hear bling, bling, bling all over the house, and it sounds magical. I feel like I just went into a fairyland, and everything's just like bling, bling. So, and I leave it like that because I need that because it's a spontaneous moment of magic that just happens erupts around me, and it has to do, and it's in connection with my blog where I'm learning how to overcome my fears. So it's like every time it happens, it's like bling bling, you're doing a good job overcoming your fear, and I'm like, yay! So awesome. So that's caught on video. Um, that's how excited I get when I get stuff. So um, your vote makes a difference in my life. Just kidding. I'm not. I'm like going into politics. Vote for me. Nothing happens. Nothing happens if like except for my excitement when you like or comment on my blog. That's it. And maybe some extra brownie points that'll help get you to heaven. I mean, I can't guarantee that. Like, I have no way to back that up. I'm just, like, what if that is what happens? You don't want to miss out on that. Okay, I better stop. I'm going to be a jerk. Um, so what was I talking about? Oh, it's not important, I guess, if I can't remember. It'll come back later, and so I'll just jump in when that happens. So anyways, uh, this is yet another part. This is even more awkward for me than it was yesterday because oh yeah, what I'm wanting to tell myself is, like, you're doing so great so far in overcoming your fears. You can take a break, or you don't have to tonight. And or I'm too tired, and oh, I don't want to overdo it. I just want to make it slow and steady, and not overdo it. But then what happens is like I'll go another month without doing a video. I mean, and I've gone through this process with on my blog. I mean, the fact that I do blog so regularly now is from pushing through like I am right now on these videos. So it's like I know I'm taking a chance of doing something that's very boring and that could even repel people. They'll start watching it and they'll be like, why would I want to watch this lady? Um, and that's fine. It's fine. Um, I should probably do a video that I purposely make completely droning and boring to help me get past worrying about that, right? Okay. Um, I'm assuming you're agreeing with me because you can't speak for yourself over my video. You can write in the comments. At that point in the video, I was saying, please shut up. Today, there's something that I wanted to talk about or bring up, was about a book that I got over a year ago, and it's probably a book I don't think I've ever been so excited about a book because it was something that I was looking for that I didn't know that I was looking for until I found it. And I'll just tell you what the title is and stuff right now. So it's The Sacred Science of Ancient Japan. Lost Chronicles, I'm trying to mirror read here. Lost Chronicles of the Age of the Gods by Avery Morrow. Now, this book was so, you see all the tabs. You see this? I read this book in one day. One day I went through and I had this fucker tabbed and highlighted and notes. Look at this. This is all from like one day. This is what happens when I get excited about a topic. Look at these notes. Look at these detailed notes. This is what happens when I'm passionate or something is really important to me. I go bonkers crazy trying to learn and understand everything about it. The reason that this book was so amazing to me is because I love information and knowledge, but not just any information or knowledge. I love ancient information and knowledge because I truly feel inside of myself that a lot of information has been lost. Stuff that we knew that was more advanced than we are today, that we knew that has been lost, and we forgot that we knew it. And so it's like I have such a drive in me to want to get into that ancient information to help solve like issues that we have going on. I know that the stuff that we're dealing with right now, like it's happened before, and instead of just reinventing the wheel, it's like, well, you know, somebody has problem solved this or experienced it and gone through it and you know, like learning from history, except for I'm speaking about ancient history, stuff that is not been so messed with. And I am not to go into conspiracy theories. Like I do like to stay as grounded in the here and now as possible and not go speculate too much off into that. As well as I like to listen to inside of myself versus a bunch of other people, because I'm trying to have something centered. So I try to stay centered inside myself. But I truly believe that the archaeology and stuff, I think that there is a lot of information stuff that they are not disclosing. I just feel it in my bones. It doesn't have to be a conspiracy theory or anything. I just really feel it in my bones. I just know that there's information, and I feel like it's been tampered with. And I feel this very deeply inside of me. And it's something that I felt just like not even from reading books or anything online. I mean, goes back to from when I was a little girl. There's just something innate in me that says, like, there is information missing. And it's like I am trying desperately to find it. Now, I mean, there is a lot of information that is there, and you have to be in a certain frame of mind to understand it. So it's kind of like having wisdom or knowledge right in plain sight, and like to the average person or people who are just not interested in that kind of thing, you know, they'll look at it and they'll say, oh, that's a lovely story, and they go on with their day. So it's almost like you have to have the eyes to see what is trying to be said behind the stories. So with that, there is still plenty of the information that's around, like old mythology, old stories, myths and stuff. There is a hidden, or not necessarily hidden, but again, you kind of have to see through the surface of what's being said and realizing it's not just a story. There is like mechanics happening behind it that is trying to be conveyed or passed down um, through the ages. And so, but still, even with those, it's like I read them and it's like I can feel energetically that they're fragmented or somehow. So it's like I read the pieces of it, and my Gemini mind goes and puts those pieces out around me in my and I work in very much of a 3D or I probably have like the internet in my head of a different version. Um, and so from when that happens, though, my Sagittarius comes in, and I can see like where there's gaps and like where stuff is not quite connecting. Like these stories form here and these stories form here, but like there's something missing here because something's not connecting, and I can sense that and feel that. So it's like I read these stories and stuff looking for something. There's just this, and I can feel that right through this part of me. There's this drive in me that is just like almost desperate to find this missing information. It makes me so sad and heartbroken and makes me want to cry. Um, and so I mean, my whole life I have spent just pouring through volumes of stories and information and everything of like from the supernatural to science, because there is actual information hidden in everything, just by nature, just the nature of nature itself um, discloses a lot of information about the mysteries of life, the micro and the macro. And again, you have to know how to see the patterns or see the relations between them. And sometimes you can misinterpret, and you have to be aware of that, that you're going to have bias and you're going to sometimes misinterpret, and you need to be flexible enough to when you get new information to kind of like back away from what you thought it was, so you can kind of scooch the new information in to see if it makes the picture more clear. So that's where I'm coming from in all of this. And the other thing is, like, I have a lot of memories, and I've had a lot of dreams about previous lives uh, in India and Japan. Like, those two countries hit something in me that I can't describe. And there was even a period in my early 20s, like, I had, I guess you could call it an identity crisis, but like, I actually had a real problem with being a white woman. It made me cry. I could feel it like in my lower, like my solar plexus and in lower area. Um, there was an actual, like, just like a fight in me that was just like I did not want to be in a white woman body. I felt so wrong. It felt off. I was just not happy about it. I was not happy about the culture. Um, and that was also during the time when I was having a lot of those dreams. Like um, they were just like very vivid and felt more real. And I even there was like I had a vivid dream about an island, or it seemed like an island, and or I could see it was an island because I kind of pulled out from view during the dream, and I saw the outline and shape of it and everything, but it had a culture I was not quite familiar with or had not learned about here yet. And it felt like it was India, but was not India. And so I was so confused, but it felt so vivid, and I was like, there's no way that this was not a memory. And I have since then learned how to distinguish between, there's a different feeling to memories than there are to like just imagination or like there's different qualities. And anyways, so like eventually I got online to look on a map, and I just like looked all over, and I think I even had gotten a part of it, the name or something, but I looked it up, and I can't remember the name. It starts with an M. It's like M-A something, and this is like over a decade ago. So and like this thing existed, and like I had drawn out the shape of the island that I had seen in my dream, and it fit almost perfectly, not in proportion obviously, but if it matched almost exactly. And so anyway, so with that in mind, so there's like this pull to find ancient knowledge and missing information. And then there's also this pull to these two different Asian countries. And, and these things are hitting deep in my soul. So for the longest time I tried to learn Japanese. There is about a 17-year period. So I took a year in high school, I took a year in college, but something is just stuck in me. Like I could not get past a certain point in it. Something is just frozen. Because I wanted to learn to do it. I learned to read it and speak it and everything fluently because I am something. I want the information. I know that I just knew that there is information in Japan. I mean, like think about how much comes out from Japan, as far as you know, like we have all these documentaries and these histories and everything on various countries, right? But how often do you see like ancient texts from Japan and like what they speak about and what they talk about? It's just like never. Like they have that shit locked up. They don't. I mean, I'm not saying again, not conspiracy here. I just mean they are very guarded about their stuff. And from a lot of my memories from lives in Japan, I've had a lot of my discipline that I have, as far as like powering through my fears and being responsible, and it was shown very clearly to me, that all stems from my lifetimes in Japan. So like when I start to have trouble in my life and stuff is starting to kind of fall apart and I'm not like getting on top of it, I will start having dreams about my life in Japan again. And one dream was even like, hello, you learned how to take care of the situation from this lifetime. Here is this lifetime. Do you remember this lifetime? Do you remember how it feels? You need to be doing that. And I'll start doing it and everything starts to clear up again. So so there's something to say about the culture. Like they are responsible, they are disciplined, they do have there is corruption, there is in any country now there is corruption, but I really feel that they've held out a long time in like keeping stuff kind of guarded and protected, trying to keep the integrity of it, even as everything starts to unfold and fall apart. So like we have wars happening in the Middle East, and like people are destroying like archaeological treasures and stuff, and this stuff has information that we need and we should be actually looking into more seriously, I feel. So anyway, so it's like I was frustrated because I wanted to learn Japanese. I wanted to be able to go and look at the documents directly myself, be able to translate them myself, and like research them. And it's like it never happened. Like my life kept going in other directions, and I was just like, oh my god. Like I wanted something in me wants to cry so bad. So when I saw this book, and this book was just published in 2014, and I got so excited about this. Yeah, 2014. My notes are from March 23rd, 2014. So something in me about came undone when I saw this, because I wanted to just kiss the author's feet for providing something like this for me. So he's translating. He went to these sources and got a hold of some of these ancient documents and translated them into English. And I was excited by that alone, but I did not know what it was going to hold. I didn't know if it was, I mean, think about all of the documents that are probably there and some that are still in the caretakers' homes, like private homes, family names, that they don't have access to them. Like, what are the chances, or that the documents that he talks about or he translates or whatever helps me be able to read are going to be the documents that I'm obviously looking for, or the information that I'm trying to find? I mean, it seems pretty slim. So I was realistic with myself. I was just excited that anything had come out of there. But when I got home and I started reading it, I was like, oh no, we hit on some gold here. I bawled my eyes out. So I read it in one day, took all those notes, put all those tabs in there, bawled my eyes out reading it, because there was stuff that I was reading in here, stuff that I had never shared with another person, stuff that I had never read anywhere else, that I knew inside of me, that I knew and held on inside of me my whole life, despite, like the cultural conditioning that naturally happens with wherever you're born, the indoctrination, going through, like there's these things in me that I know that I don't see out in the world and I don't hear about and I don't know what to do really with it, and I'm trying to find its place or where it belongs. Like, why do I have this information and what am I supposed to do with it, and how come I'm not seeing it out in the world anywhere outside of me? These are the questions that my inquiring mind wants to know. And I was coming across one thing after another in this book. For the first time in my life, I saw something outside of me, outside of my own deep, of feelers, information, validating stuff that I knew in my heart. And so it was such wonderful validation, and it was such a gift that for someone to have gone through the hard work of not just translating it, but really put a lot of thought into the meaning behind it. And I love how this author was not too afraid to skirt into unlikely, like less than scholarly opinions. Like, I mean, he also goes into the scholarly as well. He just completely was open from A to Z on interpretations, and I so completely appreciate that. And so it's like, now I'm trying to think about what I want to. It was just, let's see, like, so one of the things to this day that sticks out, like, I haven't read through these notes since about a year ago, but one of the things that stood out the most, that hit me, that impacted me the hardest, and something that I can easily share with you. So, by the way, it's the Lost Chronicles of the Age of the Gods. Now, if anyone knows, like from India, there's stories. There's stories of the different cycles or ages. I think they're called the yugas. And how it's understood is there's the different cycles of man. So there is the golden age where everything is just like bling bling, like everything is perfect and wonderful, everything's lovely, everything just flows well. And then there's like a degeneration in the ages. So you go, and I don't know the exact order, but you can go from like Bronze Age to Iron Age to, I don't know which one is better or worse, until you get to the Kali Yuga age, which is the one that we're in right now, and it's the worst. It's where shit is just completely falling the hell down. Like, morals are shot to hell. People are like completely separated and divided and spreading away from each other, and everyone is like killing each other and fuck you, fuck you. I mean, that's why prophecy is not really ooga booga stuff. It's repetitive. Like, these cycles have happened over and over, and we go through the golden age where we remember ourselves, right? And we remember everything about who we are as souls, even, well, never mind, I'm not going to get into the physics of that, but, and then we have these darker periods where we've just forgotten. We've forgotten our name. We don't know we don't know what is going on. We're totally oblivious, hurting each other, killing each other, and we know that it's going to happen. We know that this happens, and so I'm not even going to talk about it. That is my garbage disposal. When my neighbor does the garbage disposal, shit gets weird in my kitchen, and it freaks me the hell out in the middle of the night. Anyways, so that's another reason I like to look. Well, I didn't know this before I wanted to search for ancient knowledge, but it's important to look at the ancient knowledge because there are time periods where we were much more enlightened as a species, and we were writing, we were putting stuff in like the reason stuff is in stone and stuff that lasts time, and like in symbols and pictures, because pictures are easier to convey information than like languages. You do letters and stuff, and it's like, well, now I have no idea like what you're getting at, because they know we're going to lose our awareness, and we're going to start forgetting and these are ways to try and help us remember and help us get through the dark times in these very large cycles that go tens of thousands of years. And it's also why they say like the gods like would live for like 10,000 years and stuff. It wasn't necessarily exactly like magic, but I mean it is, but um, it's just the nature of the cycle that we're in. And so like the reason that this information is starting to surface is because and I don't know if this is officially with India, like the Kali Yuga, when it's supposed to actually end. I just know this is from me, this is from source Jenn, that we are starting to shift back into a golden age. So you go from like the darkest moment, when they say it's the darkest before the light, that's like kind of what happens. Is it goes to the darkest part of the cycle of the period, and it's suddenly you just smack into the golden age. It's not like you go to the darkest period and then you slowly like start going back up staircases like in reverse. Like, well, now we're back to the iron, and now we're back to the bronze age, and no, you go from golden age all the way down to the darkest, and then it cycles and punches back in straight back into the golden age, right? So that's where awareness starts coming back. We start kind of waking up from the slumber of forgetting. And so, like the information, it just starts magically reappearing when that time happens, when it's time to reawaken from this sleep, from having forgotten. But it's still kind of a painful process, just like birth is. You know, like when a baby's coming through the birth canal, it is new life, but it's not pleasant being squeezed and like pushed through, right? It's a similar thing. Like we're having to undo the pull off the crap and stuff that's accumulated on us during the darker times. And that can be kind of painful, especially when there's a sense of fear and not knowing, and so you don't want to let go because you're like, no, this is scary. I don't want to be so bright and big and wide. And so instead, we're like, no, I like to be tight and afraid and in the dark, and so we keep trying to hold on, like it's like pulling the blankets back over you. Like, I don't want to go to school today. Not understanding that if you just took the blankets off and got up, you would be in the place where everything's exactly what you want or how you want it to be. But I digress. So, and that's all information that I know now. But when I was first searching for knowledge and information, I mean, I was completely unaware of any of that. There's the core of information I know for myself, inside of myself, but I don't know what to do with it. And then there's me going out and search to try and connect it to this, like put it in context. What does this information that I have inside of me mean in the greater scheme of things? So something in me was, I don't know if it's a seed or something that's in me that was just triggered to just know there's information that is available in Japan or in relation to Japan that will help me with what I'm looking for. I'm not saying necessarily the world, I'm just saying, like, I knew for me that there was information there that I was wanting and needing. And that's what I found with this book. And I wish there was more, I mean, but I am so excited and thankful for, like, just this little chunk of information that I've got. Like, even if no more information came from Japan, I'm good. I'm good. I'm, like, so happy. So the one thing, I think one of the first things, or the things that hit me the hardest, was, so in the Age of the Gods, for Japan, I would associate that with what's called as the Golden Age in the other different cultures and stuff. I mean, there's a reason that all the different cultures and stories, they do, if you get enough of the information, enough of the, like more of the full story from everywhere instead of just these fractured pieces, they will all align to each other. I guarantee you. It's I don't need to wait for science and archaeology and all of that to catch up with it. I know. I know for myself. It doesn't matter to me if other people believe it or not. So, but they call in Japan, so they're calling it the Age of the Gods. So I'm like, documentation from the, or information about the Age of the Gods. That's during a time when there was a lot more conscious awareness of the nature of just life. Like when you talk about God and stuff, it's just more awareness. It's not so darkened and small and made tiny. Having awareness or being light or brighter is just like a blossoming and opening up to awareness, to consciousness. And so it's saying that I was going to read the sentence that I have actually highlighted. It says, "We learned that sickness is caused by a climate of dishonesty and untruth, that the people in the age of the kami avoided illness entirely through honest and frank attitudes, and that if anyone ever got sick, their hearts were purified through healing and other methods, and they would quickly recover." So, and the age of the kami is the age of the gods. So, I mean, I read that and I about came undone, because like it's something I intrinsically know, and I know that the more frank and honest that I am, and that doesn't mean blunt, it doesn't mean rude, it doesn't mean being a fucking asshole to people, but it means like really going inside and being like really honest. Even if it puts you in a bad light, like get over that shit, because it is what is making people ill and miserable. It shuts down the body. And since I knew that intrinsically, and then through the course of my life as I've been healing, I've made the connections between like the all the things that I was not honest with myself about, how it affected my body and why certain parts of the body get sick or ill or diseased. So like why someone who lies all the time or who's very dishonest and hidden, more of a Scorpio type energy, a lot of times their issues, like they'll get colon cancer, and Scorpio rules the colon, and people are like, oh well, astrology's just bunk or whatever. No sir. It's just not true. It's just describing archetypes or energies, and these things are real. They are the energies. It is what flows through and moves through life, and they are predictable. Like when this energy comes in contact with energy, these things, both plus and minus, do start to occur. And it's not that you don't have free will. It's you have. Here is the situation. Here are your options and your choices of what to do with it. And you can either choose to work with it and go with it and learn what you're wanting to, or you can resist it and just get dragged through the mud the whole time. That's completely up to you on how you want to handle it. But that doesn't mean that these things are not in place and happening. And that there is very good reason that astrology signs and planets rule different parts of the body. So like I have a lot of Aries. Aries rules the head area, and that's willpower and everything. I've actually narrowed it down to when my Aries is in play, I can feel the tension in these areas from my willpower. My mind is like, I will do that, and I can feel the tension go through the parts of my head where I feel the energy of will happening, and then I can feel it. So then Taurus rules the neck, and so there's this connection from Aries, Taurus. And in fact, if you start from the head and go down all the way to the feet, you go from Aries to Pisces. So if you were to take a human and loop them into a loop, you have the zodiac. And you do have like the different effects of the body. And even how when the energy starts through the head and starts moving down through the body, the different things associated with the zodiac signs do come into play into those parts of the body. And when those things happen in your life, those events happen in your life, they do have an impact back on the body in those places. So like if you, so like the reason Aries will have a lot of head injuries is because there's a lot of activity happening up here. And like I have pictures from when I'm a little girl, and I have various degrees of bruises all over my forehead, of different various healing. So there's like some purple, some yellow, some whatever, some bright red. Because I was very impulsive and very, like, ran head first. I'd never stopped. And so I was constantly falling and running in my head into, like, coffee table corners and just everything. And it didn't stop me. And that's very Aries-like, very determined, very, whatever, because like my willpower is just like so right here that the energy doesn't have time to get past anywhere further in my body before I act, right? So it doesn't have time to come down into Taurus and to like think about it and feel the Venus love energy about it, or down into um, the lungs with the Gemini to breathe and to maybe think about it. It doesn't get down into, so I'm not, I'm just, it's instinctive. It's just like it comes in, I'm like, I'm off, I'm done. Why are you doing it? I don't know. I don't know. And that's some of my problem. That's a lot of what I've had to work on in this life. Um, so anyway, so I understand when it says, um, they understood that with frank and open and honest attitude about things, like people are not trying to lie or get away with stuff. They're very responsible. They're very like, did you do this? Yes, I did this. Well, okay. But it was more like a community coming together to like help fix an issue. If anyone is sick, it will affect the whole community eventually, right? So, and if something is happening with this one individual, it kind of is up to the community to be kind of like, oh, well, we need to figure this out because this will infect the rest of us, um, and like we shouldn't just leave a person dealing with it off by themselves. Now, again, we have free will. So, like, if that one person who was having problems suddenly was like, no, I refuse to have your help, fuck you, then they would have to be shunned from the community so that it doesn't infect it. Except for in the long, 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 long run, it does. But we'll just not worry about that right now. And so we're really just we hurt ourselves, and we're hurting each other when we refuse to be honest and face things. And of course, at this point in the cycle that we're in, which we've been in the dark for a little while, we've forgotten long enough and through generations that we have lost that knowledge. We don't even know what that means anymore. Someone says, well, you need to be honest. There are people, I have met so many people who are just so sure that they're honest, and the more that I get to know them and watch what they do with their life and their choices and stuff, I'm like, they are like perpetual liars. Everything about what they do is just a lie. And I think because we put very negative connotations on, like, oh, you're a liar, that's a bad thing, I don't do that bad thing. And so again, that's like self-sabotage. It's like you're just, instead of getting defensive or saying, I'm not lying, I'm not doing that, I'm not a jerk, I'm not a, it's like that's hurting us. It hurts all of us ultimately. But at the same time, you can't be admitting your faults and being vulnerable when the other person on the other side of you is not willing to also be in that space or meet in that space with you. So if all parties, like it's a thing or situation where it's like all parties involved have to put down their guard and be willing to like come together to work things out in order for stuff to happen. And when that doesn't happen, then it really doesn't happen for anybody. It's like none of us can have peace until we all decide that we want to have peace and like drop the fucking bullshit. Like, I don't know if you've been hearing about this stuff in Baltimore here in the US, but that is fucking bullshit on both sides. I'm not rooting for either side. The entire situation from all angles is fucking bullshit. And it's the result of all of this. Like, both sides, all of us have a part to help play in fixing this. And pointing fingers and blaming and like listing reasons and whatever, it doesn't work because you're just defensive. Like, if someone comes at me and attacks me and says like, you're responsible for blah blah blah, I'm immediately going to be on the defense, and I'm going to be like, excuse me, like, you cannot throw this all on my shoulders, right? I had a coworker today, and he's like, I don't know what the answer is, and so I mean, so it got me thinking about it, and it really is a situation where like we have to learn to come together. We all need to be humbled to a point. I was like, I don't know, it may take space aliens, aggressive, angry space aliens coming in and invading us for like us to fucking wake up and realize that we are like we need to come together. We need to stop this bullshit. Like, all of the fighting, all of the politics, all of the red tape, all of the paperwork, all of, my God, I don't know how much of my life is spent on taxes and healthcare and stuff. Like, none of this needs to be happening. It's not necessary, because if we're in balance and if we're all open and honest, stuff automatically goes back into balance. You don't need to regulate it and control it. The more that we try to control it by controlling other people and writing all these laws, like you can't do this and you can't do this, all trying to stop bad things from happening and stopping people from like busting free, the worse it makes it. And that's, in a way, that's fine too, because it'll reach such a point that it becomes such a mess and so broken that it'll just suddenly, just everything will just go purge, and then that will be the event that pulls everybody together. So I mean, it'll work out. It'll figure its way out one way or another. I think it would just be nice, for once, if it could be done consciously and because of smart choices and because people fucking grew up and took responsibility for themselves and also held other people accountable. We let people, oh God, at work, and well, not work, anywhere we go, people are not being held responsible or accountable for their actions or what they're doing. There's always an excuse or something that is allowed. Well, I was scared, or I didn't know, or I was. If you don't have excuses, and you hold yourself accountable for your actions regardless of circumstances, you get so much further in life. You just do. It's not the easiest road, but you get so much further. Anyways, I mean, speaking of high horses, I need to get off my high horse. I just get very upset because I can see it. I can see the processes or the connections and how all the shit goes down, and it affects me. But I cannot control other people, obviously. But I don't know. I wouldn't know how to go about bringing it about at this stage. At this point, it kind of is like, well, just let it run its course. I mean, we'll figure it out as a whole. There's got to be a breaking point, a point where enough of the population is just like fucking enough. No more, just no more. Until we reach that point. I don't know. Like I'm doing, the only thing I know to do personally is to work on myself. All I know to do is to become to reach exactly what I'm talking about, that level of honesty and openness and what that means and what that process includes and what does that look like, how does that, like in a practical day-to-day world. Like I work in corporate America. I'm a business analyst, or I do web analytics or digital analytics. So, anything to do with the internet and like when people talk about page views and visits and stuff like that. I mean, like I'm in that realm, that world, very analytical process and in corporate politics and all of that. And just because I'm sensitive, I mean, I know there's a lot of spiritual oriented people who are very sensitive, and they just like crumble in on themselves, like I can't do it, I'm so sensitive, I hear you. Like I understand very well what that means. But crumbling in on yourself is not the answer either. It's like, get stronger, become emotionally stronger. You need to find a way to get back, to push yourself more out into the world and overcome it. You're not doomed to stay like, oh, I'm sensitive, therefore I'm broken, and I have to sit over here and just not do anything. You have to do some hard work. I have worked, and I still do, work so hard to not lose my sensitivity, to not lose who I am, to not lose my heart, to not lose my integrity, and to still like make a living and have a job, and find a way to be that, to be who I am in that environment, with those sensitivities, but also to not push away people or offend people. Like, find a way to get along with them, help communicate with them, help them see, um, I mean, I've done a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of awkwardness. You can ask any of over the years. You can ask any of my coworkers, have you ever had an awkward moment with Jen? And they all tell you these stories where, like, I don't know what she was thinking or what she was doing or what her rationale was. She was being weird. I cannot tell you how many times I've been humbled and humiliated just within myself in trying to figure this out for myself. So, like, when I speak of these things, it's not just me getting up on a pedestal and just trying to, I'm not just philosophizing like this would make the world better. Like, I am actually trying to do this myself. Before I talk about it, before I preach it, I guess, and preach to the choir, before I try to do that, I put myself through that test. I put myself through that ringer to see, is this possible? Is this realistic? Or am I just completely going on a pipe dream? And as I've mentioned in posts before, I have done seemingly impossible things. I have a long list of things where people have said, nope, you can't do that. That's impossible. That's not how things are done here. And to some degree, I believed it, but something inside of me was just like, no, no, I will do it this way for right now, but I will figure out another way that works within the system. I will figure a solution to get through this block using the rules of the current system, not going into anarchy and busting shit down. That is just completely so childish. But like, going within the rules that we have right now and figuring out a creative solution within those rules so that can help, because from within there, then things can unfold and unwrap, and create change in that environment that's more organic, right? And it doesn't have to be so controlled and forced. I don't have to go in there and start dictating, you need to follow these rules if you want your shit to, I mean, sometimes I get a little bossy if someone, people are being a little bit stubborn about wanting to stay dysfunctional just because, well, that's just who I am. No, you are not fucking dysfunctional. You don't get to do that. Or you can, but I don't want to be around it. Well, no, like, it's okay. So, like, when there's kids, and kids are like, well, I want to eat, like, 100 pounds of candy. They don't get to just eat 100 pounds of candy, do they? Well, I get to do what I want. No, you don't. There are limits. There are things that need to say no. You don't just get to do this. People do not have the right to do whatever the fuck they want. There are consequences. There are social consequences. There are individual, personal, human consequences. There's like responsibility. We have responsibility to ourselves, and we have responsibilities to other people. So it's like, first you need to be more knowledgeable. You need to understand like what implications. And sometimes you don't know what they are until you try it out and stuff messes up, and then you're like, okay, now I know why we don't do this. But no, I get sick of this attitude of people thinking that they can do whatever they want because it's their right. That's wrong. You are wrong. That's right, I said it. I said it. See, I have trouble with that. I have trouble telling people that they're not right because I have been told my whole life that everything that I'm wrong. I'm always wrong. Everywhere I go from thing to thing, I'm like, well, should we do it this way? No, that's not how we do it. That's stupid. That's blah, blah, blah. Okay. So I try really hard to not do that, to put that on someone else, because I'm like, well, no one ever gave me, or not, I shouldn't say never. There are people in my life. Anytime I say no one's ever blah, 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 it pops in my head, and I'm like, there are people who have done those things for me. And I feel I bypass them far too often. So there's people who I have one manager who I have been was a consultant for many, many years in my life, and he really looked after me. He was the first boss that looked after me and took care and made sure that he did not try to take advantage of me, even though I can be pretty naive sometimes, because I do get pretty idealistic, and I do I'm always like, let me just help, and people take advantage of it. And it's kind of hard. It's hard to overcome that temptation of, well, this person is just like totally gonna let me do these things, right? But he had the opportunity, and he never did. He actually looked out for me, and I cannot say how much I appreciate everything that he's done for me. And still to this day, he's just been a wonderful friend. Um, so I don't want to dismiss them, but so when I say those people that always tell me that I'm wrong, um, never give me an opportunity to say my piece, like why I thought differently or why I was suggesting this. It was just immediately put down and said that it was wrong. So I tend to do the same. I'm always like, well, let's hear your side, or what, why do you think that? And I tend to give my power to people because of that. Because they'll say, well, no, we shouldn't do it that way because blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, well, okay. I mean, you're pretty confident with your response. So we'll go with what you're saying. I'm not as confident about what I think. But, oh God, at least, I want to say 100%, but at least 80% of the time, I find that if we had done like what I had suggested, or if I had just put my foot down more, a whole bunch of problems and issues down the road that caused a lot of people, like having to work a lot of overtime or trying to fix things or whatever, could have been prevented had I spoken up and said, no, we really should think about this other way. Here, let me tell you why. So these are other reasons why I'm trying to overcome my fear of expression, of speaking up or standing up for like what I feel and say inside. Because I've seen enough times where me refusing to stand up and say, no, 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 we need to do it this way. You are wrong. Does affect people's lives, even though it's not apparent, it's not obvious. It's like that's that much time that people don't get to spend with their family or doing something that they enjoy because everyone's having to do all this other stuff. And no, I mean, technically I'm not at fault. Like no one would look at it and say, oh, if she would have spoke up, we wouldn't have had to do this. In a way, I am. That is a part of my personal responsibility. It's a part of my what I have to offer, like what I come here to serve as a human. Like we all have our jobs as humans when we're born here, of what we came here to contribute and do. A lot of the stuff that I have to suggest and like the ideas, or when I can see ahead to the trouble that's going to come if we don't do this, I inherently have a responsibility to learn how to harness that and learn how to put it into practice, into play to help people. And every time I don't need to beat myself up about it, but I do need to become aware of it and do my best the next time to try to actually act on it more, and help, because it helps everyone's lives. So when I don't do it, it's not necessarily my fault, but when I do it, everyone benefits from it, right? So then, like, that is my responsibility. It is a part of my job as a soul coming into a human body that I indirectly agreed to, or that I don't remember that I agreed to, that I need to be aware of. And it doesn't matter if it's fair. Like, it has nothing to do with if it's fair or not. It's just a part of what the fuck you're doing here. I mean, like, why else are you here? Anyway, so, I mean, I'm already getting close to an hour, and I have talked my head off. And I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to give too much information to where it's hard to absorb everything that was said. I know at this point, because I have so much information in me and so much I want to share, it reaches a point of saturation, and people can't think anymore. They can't, like, I can't pay attention anymore. It's like there's like too much. So I'm trying to be conscious and aware of that, and so I want to in this video. But I really enjoyed being able to share some of this. This is information and passions and thoughts that are close to my heart. that I don't normally get to share with very many people. Like, this is not the topics of conversation for work, um, and I don't go out with friends very often. And when I do, it's not to talk about this stuff, right? Like, no one wants to hear about this. So at least with the on video, you have anyone who wants to listen to it has the option to listen to it. I'm not enforcing it on them, and so I guess that makes it okay. um, so I really appreciate my readers uh, and your support, and even when you're quiet, like, I know you're out there. I know you're out there, even if you're not saying anything. And it's okay. So I guess I'm going to keep, like I said, I'm going to keep throwing myself in the fire. I'm just going to keep putting stuff out there. Some of it may just be rambling nonsense. Some of it may be intriguing or valuable. It's not the point right now for me. The point right now is just to keep going and get past being afraid of being too much of a nuisance or too attention getting. I need to let myself be a little bit of an attention whore. I need to make that okay for me. So, okay, that is all for tonight, and thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it.